Yo, yo. You there?
Wait. All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the smartest guy in the room. It's a podcast about life and trying to understand it as we live in what is known as a maze. Matt, you're an amazing person. Matt Smith, everybody welcome him. Come on,
Yeah,
Matt. What's up?
The longer I live in this maze, the less I understand it.
Now, do you think you become the Minotaur, like, the older you get? Because you're supposed to, like, face the Minotaur as the ancient stories go, right? You go and you take on the Minotaur. Are you the Minotaur now?
I think I face it, and I'm just stymied. Where in my younger days, I would have faced it and attacked it or retreated and came up with a plan. Now I just look at it and I'm like, what the fuck?
I think I would have tried to befriend it and get it drunk and then kill it when it got drunk.
Yeah, I'll get anything drunk.
Yeah. Somebody sent me a picture of a raccoon, like, laying next to a garbage can, clutching a Budweiser. And I thought to myself, I have been that raccoon. I know what he's going through right now.
God, I don't see many raccoons in. I live in a city. I live in in a city. I don't see that many raccoons. For some reason, I see groundhogs in my backyard, and I live like in an urban environment, but I don't see any raccoons like I used to.
Is a groundhog? That's a theme with you. Has that been a theme your entire life? I'm just curious.
I don't know if it's been a theme. I let my dog out the other day, and I didn't know there was a groundhog in the backyard. And I looked out the window, and the next thing I know, the dog has this groundhog in its mouth, and it's shaking the fucking groundhog violently. So I had to run outside and like make noise, and it's distracted the dog, and she let the groundhog out of her mouth, and it was horrifying.
Why wouldn't you let the dog do what it wants to do, though? That's my question.
Because then I got to clean it up.
Because it's all about you and your laziness.
Well, she'll drag the remains in the house, and it'll be like a murder scene, and I don't want to.
Yeah, but she's trying to impress you with her skills, don't you think?
She does, but she can impress me outside. She doesn't have to bring it in the house.
When I was a kid, our dog, we kind of had like just a free-spirited, you could call it feral, but we had this dog, Midge, who was a beagle. We talked about it on the pet episode. She was pretty cool, and she came and went as she pleased, like most Dempseys. And she would bring back kill from the woods, rabbits, mostly rabbits, but an occasional bird. And she would leave them on the lawn, I think, to impress us, like, hey, look what I did, man. I'm pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's especially if they get fixed. If they're fixed and they can't like have children, they're more inclined to kill things and bring it home to their masters.
Yeah, they just want your approval, man. That's all they want.
Yeah, we all want approval, right? Speaking of the woods, there's a park near my house, and I usually drive my dog over to the park every morning because to give her a walk, because my dog is insane, and walking through the city, she sees people, she wants to eat them, so I drive her to the park instead. And there's been this fox who's been living in the park, and she comes out the same time I take my dog over there. And I don't know if the fox is on its own cycle or if it knows our cycle, but she always comes out when I bring my dog over. And then the other day, there's a couple mornings where I woke up early enough and I didn't feel like driving my dog over to the park, so I walked her in the neighborhood, figuring it was early enough and people wouldn't be roaming around, and which in the city is always a crapshoot. But the fox, I don't know if the fox knew we hadn't been in the park lately. Next thing I know, I'm bringing my dog home. The fucking fox is 2 houses down in the driveway next to ours. So I don't know if she was looking for my dog or what, man. But
hey, foxes are kind of dicks, so you got to be careful.
yeah, I don't know much about foxes. She'll look at us and take off. So, and my dog will just stare her down. But I don't know, man. I don't know. It's weird. I didn't think I'd encounter all this shit in the city. That's why I live in the city. I don't like. I don't like farmland and shit like that. So, and I know you do. You're a farmer now.
Well, I had my go in the city. I mean, I lived in Hoboken for 7 years almost.
Right.
And I'll tell you, there's an allure to it because, I didn't grow up in a city. You know how we grew up, middle class suburbia, whatever we want to call it. But there was a part of me that just was like, I could live in Hoboken the rest of my life, like, because it's a cool town, and again, it's like a 6th borough or 7th borough, whatever. Yeah, it's just great, but I have to think, when I moved here to Raleigh, I did not like the country, so you acclimate, I suppose, and you just make it your own. I think it comes a time where you become what you want over, versus your surroundings. You blend in or meld.
I do think I could handle the country better than I could handle today's suburbia. Like when we were growing up, suburbia was mostly blue collar workers, and it was, like where we grew up, it was on the edge of the city, and I don't know. Today's suburbia is just really cookie cutter and lily white, professional, clandestine racists. I don't know. It just makes a lot of these suburbs that I live around, especially, make me fucking ill. They're soulless. So if I had to pick between the country or suburbia, I would probably pick the country. But I'm not really a country guy. I always joke that like Brooklyn is too rural for me. I don't know what to do in the country. I've lived in the country before because of jobs that I've had, and man, I'm not good in the country. I'm not a country boy.
Interesting. So you don't like John Denver music? Just curious.
For some reason, I was reading about John Denver a couple of weeks ago, and that guy, man, he was an alcoholic.
Oh, was he? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he had some issues, man. He was kind of intense.
Does that make you like him more or hate him more?
I just find people an enigma. They're especially people like him who have this public persona, and then you read about his life, and I don't know, he seemed like kind of a tormented dude.
Everyone wants to live their own fantasy, buddy.
I guess.
I read this in a psychology thing where it's something to the effect of, we want to be known by the best things we do, but we often judge each other by the worst things we know about each other.
I buy that.
Take that for what it's worth.
I buy that. So what's our topic today?
It's a topic you and I love. It's sports, and specifically as it relates to our life. The fabric of Americana, the role sports plays in our world. And I'll kick it off by saying I played soccer. I can't say that I hate soccer, but I do think it's pretty fucking dumb, if you don't mind me saying. So why don't you persuade me for a second on why I'm wrong? If you feel like it.
Soccer's a beautiful game. Of all the sports I've played, and I played 5, maybe 6, and my son was a serious soccer player. Soccer, out of all of them, in my opinion, is the hardest game to play at a high skill. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of... I've played hockey with a lot of very good hockey players. I played football with a lot of very good football players, etc. I played soccer for 30-something years. I did not play soccer with a lot of very good soccer players. Very good soccer players. The number of very good soccer players is few and far between. It's a pretty high skill sport. People don't realize it.
Do you see the shirt I'm wearing? I wore this for you.
Well, you know.
Yeah, but look at
Dempsey. Yeah. Clint Dempsey.
That's right, motherfucker.
But, you know, I mean, I understand America's, you know, feeling towards soccer. Like, you know, a lot of people, it's especially our generation. You like what you know, and
well, you know, I want to ask you a question.
Go ahead.
So, what I heard from you, and you correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like to me what you're saying is soccer as a sport really delineates between like skill, talent, and just plain old grit. Like, in other words, it's distilled more than like, because I could be Shaq, and I love Shaq, and he's probably a great athlete as far as I know. But when he played, if you remember, they used to bust his balls because he couldn't make free throws because he probably just said, well, I'm 7 foot, whatever the fuck, and I can just kind of hang out and push everybody around. Yeah. At least that was my perception of like, he doesn't work that hard. But, I mean, what the fuck do I know about what Shaq does when he's training? Yeah, but in soccer, you're saying, like, because you don't need giant size like in football or some kind of, you just need to be able to run fast and work your balls off. Is that, am I on the right track?
I don't know if you need to run fast. You need to be in incredible shape. There's a lot more grit involved in soccer than people realize.
Okay. I get it.
There's a lot more skill in soccer than people realize. You know, but again, you know, for Americans, I think the big problem with soccer is the way they see the guys go down and roll around on the ground. And, you know, as big a soccer fan as I am, that drives me fucking insane.
I love that. That's like my favorite part.
There's a psychology to that. But, you know, I mean, the soccer I follow usually is English Premier League soccer. And that's a different style of soccer. It's very physical, very fast. My son and I went down to Yankee Stadium to watch Liverpool and Manchester City, and we were pretty close to the field, and I was shocked at the power those guys had and the speed. It really was like watching thoroughbreds. You know, these guys are fucking powerful athletes. You don't pick that up on television, but you know, I don't think we want to turn this into a discussion about what sports we like and what sports we don't. I mean, hockey.
No, but I did want to just dispel. I mean, I think what you just shared with us it's eye-opening to me. Hopefully, some of our folks listening get that too. Like, again, we didn't grow up. I mean, we grew up playing. So let's turn the gears towards, you know, sports in general. And I'm just going to throw my quote of the day out right in the middle of our convo. I think it applies here. But I searched high and low on this internet thing, and I found this quote, which is really nice. It says, "It is a happy talent to know how to play." And that's from a guy called Emerson. You ever hear of him?
Yes.
I don't know who that is.
You know how to play what?
No, just play. That's the fucking rub, buddy. Boom.
It's a happy
like sports talent. Is an extension of playing. Children play. There's not a lot of consequences, and not to mock the old participation. I don't get ahead of the curve. But we're all on this fucking planet, right? We already talked about being in the maze and the Minotaur and all that other shit. But when you're a little kid, you want to just fucking play and be happy. And somehow, you know, sports has just become some weird extension of the maniacs that we all are. Yeah. At the height of, you know, you go to a kid's soccer game and you got these crazy fucking parents going. I don't know. Did you coach your kid when you were when your son was younger?
No, I refused. And the reason I
Smart.
refused was because I refused for a very specific reason. I did not want my son to grow up being the coach's son.
Yeah.
I wanted my son to learn how to deal with other adults.
Mm-hmm.
And if he was going to earn anything on the field, I wanted him to be recognized for his own talents and not to be, somehow polluted by, he's the coach's son. So I knew more about, like, my son was a soccer player. I knew more about soccer when he was growing up than a lot of the parents who coached, and they asked me to coach, and I refused because, again, I didn't want my son being known as the coach's son.
Did you grow up playing? You played Little League football, right?
I did not. I played in high school.
You never played those?
No,
Okay.
the weird thing was hockey was my favorite sport. I was good at soccer. Football was the sport I was best at, but I would rather be playing hockey. I got recruited to play football in college, but I just I didn't want to do anything after high school.
A lot of fucking work.
Yeah, it's too much work.
My brother played college football, and I still joke with him now once in a while because, I would sit in the stands at his college football games with my father, and my dad was, simple man, but God love him. He would yell at my brother from the stands at the rock pile, just to the point where one time I said, Dad, I'm not going to sit with you anymore if you're going to yell at Paul. You're just embarrassing yourself, and I'm not going to be a part of it. My dad basically told me to screw myself, and I did. I went and sat somewhere else. My brother was a great football player. He's really smart. He was not the biggest man out there, and he refused to lift the weights or do steroids like some of those other clowns.
Yeah.
But he played with a guy that could bench press 500 pounds, and I don't know if the guy did steroids or not. I hope he didn't, but those are the caliber of those men are just so fucking huge. My brother was like, I'm doing this for fun. And that's what I always appreciated about him is he had the right mentality. He's like, I'm not going to play pros and I don't want to. I'm just going to kick some ass and have some fun. And he got help, I think he got a little bit of financial help from the college, but he didn't get a scholarship for sure. He had to pay a lot of the tuition himself. But the point I'm making is, the fun aspect has to always be there. And I hate that in a lot of instances, it gets sucked out.
The big dichotomy, the issue with youth sports especially is there's this notion that, you get your kids involved in sports and it teaches them teamwork and it teaches them how to accept loss and it teaches them discipline and this and that. And then, if it's supposed to teach kids about the real world, it should also teach kids about disappointment. But then you bring in the element of the participation trophy, which, in my mind, kind of negates all those lessons.
But it's like two ends of the spectrum. And it's not, we live in this zero-sum game of people with the all or none, or you're with us or against us. I fucking hate the on-off switch game because it's a spectrum. And there's a lot of room for a lot of stuff in between the absolute loser who gets a participation trophy and the fucking kid who, what's that movie where the guy's bouncing the basketball off the kid's head?
Well, my point, I guess, was there's all these
Santini.
Kids are being sent all these mixed messages. On one hand, you want kids to learn about life, and on the other hand, you're going to give them a trophy, no matter if they suck or not, because you want them to just have fun. But then
they know they suck.
Then it's
they gotta know.
But then it's the parents who suck the fun out of the sport for the kids.
Yeah.
By demanding and expecting, and it's just such. I've got a problem with sports now. It's just, it's awful. I said before, my son ended up playing in this soccer, this development program where he traveled all over the East Coast, playing soccer. And I refused to let him do that until he was in high school because, my thought was, when you're 9 and 10 years old, you should be going to fucking birthday parties, not playing soccer in North Carolina, 300 miles, 400, 500 miles away. And so, my son kind of started late in that program, and he played with a lot of kids that had been in the program since they were 9 or 10. And all those kids ended up burning out when they were 15. And
Yep.
because they never went to a fucking birthday party, So, so many of those parents were convinced their kids were going to play Division I and pro soccer, and it's a joke. I mean,
well, yeah. The other thing is,
my son was in it because he wanted to be recruited for college, and he was. But again, I didn't let him play in that until, and this, I probably hurt him, but I'd rather him have a happy childhood. I didn't let him play until after his freshman year of high school, when he was like 15. Instead of like these other kids who were playing at 9 and 10, which was ridiculous.
Well, the other thing too is like these parasitic camps and all these like you spend hundreds of thousands of dollars because your kid, we think your son has talent, but if you send him to our special school, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I knew someone that put their kid through some kind of hockey thing like that, some pro league or something.
Yeah.
And there were some ex-professionals that had their names attached to it, almost like Trump Academy or whatever the fuck that was, but for sports. Yeah. And they will suck these people of all their money, with a kid that's probably got some talent, but at the end of the day, it's still less than like 1% of all fucking kids will play a professional sport. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, I used to live in Lake Placid, and those schools were prevalent up in Lake Placid. Now, most of those kids who went to those schools in Lake Placid actually turned into like, high-level national competitors and, pro competitors. But there are a lot of schools since then, this was like 30 years ago, 25 years ago, that have popped up that, just like you said, they're schemes,
Well, the thought I'm getting to is kids need a well-rounded life when they're kids. They don't need to be told at age 6, like, you are going to play hockey and you will make it to the pros and you will play for the New York Islanders or some shit. Yeah. And that's what we tell these kids, and we fill them full of it. And then it comes full circle when you get a pro or some kid gets selected by the Dallas Cowboys. And he's like, I dreamed of being a Dallas Cowboy, and I used to have Emmitt Smith's poster on my wall. And then he gets to be a pro. And then for every one of him, there's just thousands and thousands of kids that will never do that.
So what did sports teach you growing up?
I never gave a fuck. I'm a bird of a different, or a horse of a different color. I only wanted to go and have fun and get the fuck away from my house.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I remember playing JV football at St. Francis, and I remember sitting in the classroom with all the plays and looking at them and just laughing, like, I will never learn any of these plays.
I could never, ever
and
learn.
I just wanted to hit people. Like, that's all I cared about.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I got hit pretty good, but I tried to give it out as much as I could, too. But I hated the running. I hated any of the workouts. I just liked the camaraderie, the screwing around with the guys and hitting each other and then laughing about it later.
Yeah, I just liked, when you're a kid though, you play because you like to play. When I became an adult, I looked back after, because you end up reading or hearing shit about what sports is supposed to teach kids, and I, reflect, and I'm like, did sports teach me any of this shit? Like, I'm a fucking horrible loser. So sports did not teach me how to accept loss, because I fucking hate losing in anything, and I don't know why everybody isn't a fucking horrible loser, because you should be. Like, you should hate losing,
Yeah.
So I fucking hate losing, I mean, I guess if anything sports taught me, like, I didn't know it then, but like back in the day, maybe it taught me like discipline and preparation, but I don't know.
Well, it taught me, one, I wasn't I was a bit of a chubby kid and kind of lazy. And I had I don't know if I told you this, but I wiped out on my bike when I was in 5th grade delivering newspapers one Sunday morning, and I was knocked out for the day. I think I
Yeah,
told you that.
yeah, we had a show about
Yeah,
it.
well,
The
my
dog
parents
saved
wouldn't
your
let
life.
me play any sports after that. I mean, I was fucked up, right? I mean, so I didn't play sports for a while after that, and that's when I turned into a fatty, and it really sucked. And I remember trying to get back into shape. Um, I went out for the Cubs, the West Seneca football team. Jimmo was on my team, as a matter of fact. And I remember I got hit by this kid one day, and I fell on the ground, and I just laid there looking up and seeing stars in my head, thinking, I can't play football. Because I thought I was gonna die, and I
Yeah.
wasn't real scared about it. Like I wasn't terrified or any of that stuff, but I just knew I'd let myself get too fat because of the injury and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it helped me understand that I will not, I'm not a good athlete, and I need to develop other things. Because I've always been like a thinking kind of a kid. And
Yeah.
I've always fallen back to, I mean, I actually used to want to be a priest when I was a little kid, but we can talk about that for another time. Um, I don't know. I loved being a part of the team. And I like being with friends and just fucking around and having fun.
Right.
That's all I can tell you. I don't know.
Yeah, and again, that's why kids ultimately play. It's when you look back and you wonder what it teaches you. I'll tell you what's ruined sports for me, and especially like football. I used to follow the NFL. I hate the NFL now, and I think I hate it because of things like ESPN. They just the glorification they give to these sports in the 24-hour a day, 7-day a week, year round. Like there's year round coverage now of football, and if some
never ends.
Some quarterback has a bad day on a Sunday, you listen to these pundits all week long, and they talk like it was a personal affront to them. It's like these fuckers work in the toy department of life. Fucking calm down. And it's ruined the sport for me. I don't pay attention.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's comical, but it's tough. I mean, we're coming near the end of the show, so I want to just wrap up with a couple of thoughts. But the best thing we can do is preach our message of life's not that serious. Go have fun. Just fucking the attraction with sports and sports celebrities. There's a vicarious living aspect that most Americans don't really live a life. They live a life through their TV or live a life vicariously. I was at this event where they had a bunch of sports people. And, I'm talking to this one guy that played for the Jets, and he's like, do you want my autograph? And I'm like, I don't even know who you are. And the funny thing was, he looked at me and we both started laughing because he got it,
Yeah.
But I mean, like, what the fuck is wrong with people? Go live your own life. Be your own sports hero. You don't have to be great. Just fucking enjoy yourself. Enjoy being bad at stuff.
Ultimately, and again, this is why I hate things like ESPN, because sports isn't that important. It serves a function. I think, like pro sports, it's entertainment, it's a distraction. And I think in some cities, especially like Buffalo, like imagine Buffalo without its pro sports teams. It serves as a common
lifeline.
a common thread for people, and source of community pride, and it pulls cities together. But
There are other ways.
Beyond that, it's not that important.
Nope.
So
Right.
fucking I don't even know who. Some fucking name a quarterback. I don't even.
Jim Kelly.
Jim Kelly. Some fucking quarterback throws 5 interceptions like one Sunday. Let it fucking go. I don't need to keep hearing about this 5 days later. It doesn't fucking matter.
The other thing I would say in closing is you are not the guy you were yesterday. You're not the guy you were 20 years ago, and you're not the guy you were a month and a half ago. And you won't be the same guy a month from now. Like, we're not static fucking beings. We change, we think, we grow, we adapt. And I think it's just incumbent on people to see themselves as the value in themselves from day to day, and don't live by your past mistakes, like you just said. People do that, and they're always judged like, well, you threw 5 interceptions, Dick. You suck. You cost us the Super Bowl. You ever hear some fat guy say that to like a sports guy?
Oh yeah,
I didn't cost you nothing, Dick.
They get death threats. There's this fucking player there's this hockey player on the Toronto Maple Leafs right now who is just, because they always lose in the first round, and this guy's making $10 million.
Bill Buckner. Like, remember that fucking guy?
The entire city wants to murder this fucking guy. He's 20 years old or 21 years old, you know?
What about the soccer guy in South America that scored on his own net? They killed him.
They actually assassinated him.
Yeah, he got murdered.
just cool out, man.
Literally, not figuratively.
Well, I'm going to name the smartest guy in the room this week the Fox, because it adapts to the park. It adapts to the city.
I'm going to warn you, that fox is sizing you up. It's probably going to jump on you when you're not looking and fucking bite your neck.
It's not going to. It won't go near me.
If it has the rabies, it will. Watch out.
It's the smartest. If this fox knows what's good for it, it's not going to come near me.
I know I wouldn't fuck with you. All right, buddy.
Stay free, man.
You too. Take care. Bye.